go. Okay. Oh, I know what I need to do though. What it does do is it gives you a feedback thing. Right. Just doing a little bit of technical stuff there. For some reason, it opens a page. It's changed the way it does it, and it opens a page up on Facebook. And obviously, you're already on your computer, and the sound is always on. So I'm rather pleased with myself that I just remembered to mute that. All right, back to Zoom. There we go. Welcome, anybody who's with us. We're just going to check that we are live, or I am. I do believe we are. And if you could, oh, there you were. So Julie and I were just saying how strong the energies are. And we're having a little bit of trouble speaking, remembering who we are, how we are, and all the rest of it. So do bear with us. I also haven't done a Love Speaks Love for, I don't know, a little while. So I'm just trying to remember all the things that I do. Oh, share. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to share it to my Frequency of Love page. I'm going to share it to Soulology. So when did we last speak?
What year is it? What month is it? A couple months ago.
And I had this idea yesterday when I was all enthused about what we talk about, and I was like, oh, we could like focus in on a certain few things. And I thought, I'd love to know what a photon of light is. Let's talk about light. But we may or we may not do that because we're both struggling to get our brains engaged today. But that was the idea that I had. Okay. So try and pull it together and do our little heart-to-heart connect. So, Julie, I haven't even introduced you. My guest is Julie Dhara Roberts. We just got straight in. Welcome to Love Speaks Love. Okay, so let us all, if you're in a position to do so, bring your awareness to your heart space. And let us all breathe love into our beautiful hearts. Feeling that love moving all around your body, moving into every cell, spreading out into your auric field. And let us extend our heart awareness out now to the heart of Gaia. And I'm just visualizing a beautiful diamond heart, crystalline diamond heart of Gaia, and actually just feeling myself within that diamond. So you might like to do the same. And this is connecting in with the new heart, the new earth heart of Gaia. And feeling Gaia's love moving into every cell of our bodies. Feeling that heart-to-heart connection. Because really, we are one heart. And feeling Gaia's gratitude, a recognition of all of us and her gratitude for all that we do, all that we are. And extending that heart awareness out now to the sun, to the heart of the sun. Feeling those solar codes moving into every cell of our bodies. And thanking the sun for all the light, all the codings. Thanking the sun for the energy that is blasting onto our planet and into our hearts. And extending our heart awareness out now to the heart of Source Creator. And feeling the love from Source Creator in our hearts and in every cell of our bodies. And I'm just going to hand over to you, Julie, and just see if there's anything you wish to add to this before we open our eyes.
Well, my current focus has been a lot with the whales, and is right before this gathering here, I was looking for like that sonar, like where on the electromagnetic spectrum the whale echolocation and sonar is located. So I invite us to go down into the, like, so we have the visible spectrum of light where we see things, and then come to redshift with me, everyone. And let's move down through the infrared, down through the microwave, deeper and deeper into the lower, slower vibrations of radio waves. And like you hear sound underwater, I invite us all to be receptive of these deep, slow, low pulsations from our aquatic friends. Whales, dolphins. And then we'll invite them to like stay here with us in this space, kind of the undertone, or like the earth note, the deep note of our conversation. So we'll stay connected as we open our eyes again. Denise and I were, when she asked me to come on Love Speaks Love, I had, my front of the brain self was like, sure, I love talking to Denise. I'm so excited. So I just said yes instantly without the pause point of like, my human speech faculties are not working this week. But then I was picturing we were teasing before we came on live, and I was like, we'll just talk like, like Dory did in Finding Nemo, like, hello, Denise. How are you today? We speak whale, we'll be fine.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you. And thank you to everyone who's joined us. Who are we again? I got very distracted in the middle of that because when I put my hand on my heart, you see this?
No, it's part of your sweatshirt. Can you put it? Oh, wow. Was that a dragon eye? What's going
Yes.
on there?
So I bought this in Glastonbury. There's a wonderful artist called Linda Ravenscroft who does cards and stuff. Really beautiful fairy things and all sorts. And she has a gallery there, and they have like a shop, and They have a room where they work in as well. And this kept like winking at me pretty much, and I thought, oh yeah. So I bought it thinking it was just an ornament. It's a badge. I can wear it. And when I had my hand on my heart and I had my hand over this, it was really distracting because I could feel the I could feel the energy from it. And it was like, I was like, that's really interesting. What's going on? And I hadn't realized my hand was over there. I'd just put my hand on my heart. And I was like, whoa, there's a lot of energy there. And then I kind of like felt what was beneath my fingers. And I was like, oh my goodness, I can't tell what's coming from this and what's coming from my heart. But isn't it beautiful?
Gorge. Purpley.
Okay, so today is the 3rd of June. So there's the 3 6 there. Those are magical numbers. And I suspect there's a lot of energy bombarding the planet right now. I know when I was chatting on Messenger with Zahara the other day, and all of a sudden I was like, and it was just a written chat. We weren't speaking like this, and all of a sudden I was like, oh my goodness, I can't keep my eyes open, and it just feels like that today. And she was feeling a really strong kind of love wave coming in, and my experience today has been I've had a lot of twinging. I've had a lot of back twinging on my left side, but it's at the back of my heart. It's quite high up, like it's not as high as my shoulder blades. It's probably, where is it the equivalent of? I reckon it's just there where my necklace is. It's just kind of so it feels very back of heart, and I'm feeling, and I saw someone mention this the other day, that there's a lot opening at the back of our bodies at the moment, a lot of our chakras. And I've mentioned this a few times when I've been doing sessions with people, when I did live chakra readings, that, and I focus on the front energies of my chakras, and I don't always remember the back of the chakras. And it feels like we've stuffed such a lot of stuff at the back of our chakras, and it's time for those to open up now. So I think there's a lot of releasing from the back, and that feels like what the twinge is that's going on. So left side as well. So if we're still doing the feminine masculine sides, if we're still kind of working with that, then it's the feminine side. Anything you would like to add to that, my dear?
That was a lot. Yeah, when you were talking about the like what the section of light codes that were in this season and this eclipse, the eclipse bookends, and now as we build to the June 10th solar eclipse, and so this past weekend we had, so if you look at the Taurus constellation, the two horns of Taurus, like at the tip of the top of one of the horns is the Crab Nebula. And the Crab Nebula, I've recently in the last like month been paying a lot of attention to it. And it is one of the radio sources. This sort of ties into the whale stuff. This is like where my gatekeeper focus is right now. The because the sun just went through the Pleiades, but it went by the Pleiades, but it's still in the Taurus constellation. So I always like to say this, my astrology friends, this is not going to coincide with what house it is in an astrological chart. What I'm talking about is the constellations and like where you would see the sun in the sky related to the stars. And those two are different. So the sun right now is in Taurus. At the tip, you know, it went by the Pleiades. So we had so many, that May 26th lunar eclipse. I know there is the words lunar, that's the sun eclipse. May 26th is it was right in the Pleiades, like right next between the Pleiades and Aldebaran. So like for a lot of us that hear from the Pleiadian star codes, we've been getting a lot of bombardment there in a good way. So when the sun is next to when it conjuncts or is next to another celestial body in the sky, that it's almost like the sun takes on those codes. So like from the sun, we're getting a lot of this Pleiadian. That's what a conjunction is to me. That's like the sun is like double equipped with not only its own starlight, but the light of the stars that it's conjuncting with. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Is that right if I wax into this space topics?
Do.
Okay. So we had all that from the Pleiades and from Aldebaran and Hyades. So that was that a couple last few weeks. And now the sun is on its way up to the horns of the Taurus, the bull. But just prior, and I'd have to go look up, I can just guesstimate because like we said, linear thinking. But one of the either Friday and Saturday, Mercury and Venus conjuncted at the Crab Nebula Friday, Saturday, this weekend. And that is, I think, part of what this wipe that personally that I'm feeling has just been like, you know, the Mercury and the communication and the Venus and the like self-love. And it's just been like, I feel like I've been taken, not offline, that's not the right word, but it's just been like a complete self-focus. Like it's just been me and then family. I think for a lot of us, the Pleiadian codes this time for me came through as family interactions. And like for me, it was like biological and siblings, you know, the whole seven sisters thing. I don't have seven sisters, but I do have a brother and a sister. And even my brother lives across the continent, and he came in for a couple weekends of visits, and we had a graduation from college, and we had just had like a lot of interaction of family. So the intercoding of that and working all that stuff out. And then it's like family, but it's star family too. It's like all the layers of family and the DNA and like, so, you know, I've heard other people talk about it's like, oh, am I getting completely like wiped and rewritten, right? The DNA codes are just like, my DNA has been, or I've been breaking DNA karmic patterns in my family lines. Or some people like this weekend has been just like the best I can describe it. So that's, I feel like we're still combobulating back to like a renewed version of whoever we are. But I will say too that the Crab Nebula thing, the June eclipse that's coming up, the sun and the moon are going to be up at the Crab Nebula. Like the sun is kind of working its way between the bull horns right now. And when we get to June 10th, it's going to be right there. So there's a thing about like the radio, and it's so cool that it's 3-6 because that's very Tesla numbers. So like the Tesla collective and the radio communication and the broadcast, like all of that's getting wiped, erased, reset, recoded, upgraded. And so the whole speaking, you know, linear, it's good because it's more going to be like the crystalline communication network is getting a massive upgrade. That's a short way to say all that other stuff that I just said. And there's something about, I still haven't, like, I'm still putting that together to be able to share it, but I can just say there's something about the Crab Nebula. And it's, so not every single thing that we see in the sky has a strong radio wave emission, but the Crab Nebula does. And I could go into that, but I don't know if that's going to serve anybody. But so there's something about the radio, the broadcast, the communication, the Venus, the Mercury, them meeting, them now separating, the Mercury moving back towards the sun, which a lot of folks call retrograde. Retrograde just means like Mercury's going back. Mercury stays really close with the sun. So it like moves and flows. It just kind of stays around the sun all year. So is that a long answer? Does that have anything to do with what you asked me?
I don't even know if I asked. That was a few minutes ago. I can't remember that.
Yeah.
I'm also taking, like, there was a question from that. So that's been what you were saying about the connection with the Pleiadian stuff and the family stuff. That's been since the last eclipse on the 26th of May.
Yeah, the sun got towards the Pleiades,
Yeah.
like in the May teens, but it's been there the whole time. But that's just how it's shown. I'm just saying that's how it's shown up for me as like family recoding.
Yeah.
Family.
Yeah. No,
and there's the quality of also like my family hasn't seen each other because of the global circumstances. So it was like a chance to like reset the communication patterns coming back together.
Yeah.
Which has its earth plane challenges, shall we say.
That's interesting. And so the next eclipse is on June 10th, which is a week today. So we're like pretty much bang in the middle, aren't we?
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
between those two, and that feels important. Um, and okay, so Pleiades is
Can I say a simple thing about the eclipse that somehow wants to come through right now about the geometric coding of it? So eclipses always come in pairs. Like you always have a solar and a lunar eclipse together because it's like the alignment of Earth, Sun, and Moon, right? So like if they're on that line, so when we had the lunar eclipse, the sun is over here, the Earth is in the middle, and the moon is over here. So you know this, but I'm just sharing it with other people. The lunar eclipse is like where the Earth's shadow blocks the moon, so it has to be just so aligned. And so that happened, and now it's like the moon's coming all the way over. So the solar eclipse is the disk of the moon coming between Earth and the sun.
Mhm.
So it's like the next sweep of the same alignment. Does that make sense? So like, yeah, they're 2 weeks apart. And yeah, we happen to be, is today, whatever linear day this is, we're right in between. Wednesday, Thursday, whatever day it is. But so what you're going to ask, that's.
I only know that because I had an appointment with my mum today. Um, right, so Alcyone is one of the sons of Pleiades.
Mm-hmm.
And so, because this is something that I've never quite got my head around, we call is our sun the central sun and Alcyone the galactic sun that people refer to?
So there are a family of grid workers or gatekeepers that do refer to Alcyone as the central sun. And there's a whole way of thinking that's like that Alcyone is that like the Earth sort of rotates, or our sun is related to Alcyone and like rotates around it. But that's, to my technical knowing and my way of truth, that's not. Alcyone is the brightest star in the Pleiades. So she's like the alpha sister, the bossy one, the one that sets the terms for the family. And she is one of the brighter ones. And she, or the star, codes to us. The Pleiades are in the spiral arms of the Milky Way galaxy. The Pleiades are our closest neighbors. So we
Right.
hear from them a lot. So like all the solar stream, all the light codes, it's almost like each star is like if you're a relay race, like it picks up the codes from the center of the galaxy and it gets distributed down our spiral arm. So Alcyone is a little more central than we are. So I think that's like that viewpoint of people calling it the central sun. I don't use that terminology personally, but there is like a whole um, group of people that do think that way. So
Yeah. And so
does
our
that
sun
make
is
sense?
receiving a lot of information from Alcyone. It feels right that information goes from Alcyone to our sun and then from there onto our planet.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. And just to go back to the rewriting that you were saying, I've been feeling that there must be a lot of memory rewriting going on because my memory was pretty shot anyway, and we can call it essential amnesia or whatever. But I'm feeling that really strongly at the moment. That seems to have, I won't say got worse, but it's I don't want to use those words, but yeah, let's say got got worse. My memory is like it's like yeah.
Well, it's getting wiped. It's like not even, it's just there's no access or something. Like it's like the data banks have been wiped. So even if you remember how to access those files, there's no nothing in there. I don't know. As you said that, what came to me is like a lot of us use Taurus as has a constellation of embodiment. Like Taurus the bull, like very earthy, right? And then there's different parts. So the part that we're in right now is the upper. You think about the horns and like there's like how some cultures call the hair like the antennas.
Yeah.
Like we get, it's almost like the horns are like our funnel for our crown chakra in the Taurus constellation. So like all this activity is happening all up here. And so like the pineal, this whole the pituitary and pineal is, there's massive upgrades right now for
Yeah.
sure. And it's like eyes, like human eyes, like people are having like one eye is a little fuzzy or you can't quite see hear or like sense the way you used to be able to. So
Yeah.
our point is like, don't be alarmed. Just an upgrade and a reboot. People listening to this, it's all for your benefit. Just relax into it. You'll be fine.
And treat it with humor is important.
You just talk like a whale. You can't get too serious on yourself if you're
I
be
was
echolocating. You won't run into buildings. Okay.
It was really good to feel their playful energy in the dolphins as well. So, and I don't always hand over like that, but I got a strong nudge to like, bring Julie in for something. So it must have been the whales.
Yeah, my son's class went on a field trip yesterday. They went on a whale watch, which is awesome. And there's just been we've had whale pings here in our family since Easter, since the 4-4. It's been whale, 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 whale.
Yeah, interesting. Interesting.
But that whole, like with the radio waves and even you said, when you said the echo, what you had that appointment, like that. I was like, oh, it's echo. Like I was just looking at echo location or the whale things, and I was like, oh, it's so interesting because it's that like you send out the sound waves and then what comes back is how you like find out the information about the universe. It's like that sense of and in the Taurus way, it's very kinesthetic then. So what we're doing right now, I think, is bypassing the linear human brain construct. Like it'll still be there for when we need to like pay bills at the end of the month or whatever. But like right now, the true influx is just completely bypassing the constructs of the human brain and more like that echolocation. We're just getting like feedback in the direct sensory. But for me, it's like in the more kinesthetic zone of like just that instant knowing and the melting in and feeling it in your bod.
That's really interesting. And I really feel that. And I feel that's coming online more for us. And it's an interesting it's an interesting way to kind of look at it, because often we send out feelers, don't we? Like, we might scan an area, like if we're doing grid work or whatever, it's like we scan. But that's an interesting way of thinking about it, that I'm actually sending sound waves out and then feeling them come back. I hadn't really thought about it like that before, but that almost feels like that's something that's coming online. And there's been, you mentioned about, you didn't specifically say the throat, but you were saying about the way that we're communicating is changing as well. And silence has been very present for me since I went to Glastonbury. Like a lot of what Glastonbury was about for me was silence. It was coming up a lot. I expected I'd do lots of Facebook lives when I was there, but I was like, nah, it's, I bought a little selfie stick, which I broke the first time I used it. Apparently you can't put any pressure on the legs to go up because they just snap. And I expected to do at least one Love Speaks Love there as well, like just have it as a kind of spontaneous thing, but it was very much not internal. And the last, I don't even know when the last Love Speaks Love was. It might even be 3 weeks. Yeah, I've no idea. But since then, it's been very much internal, just doing the work. And I say this like it's a new thing. Like really, this has been going on since December. Like it's 6 months that this has been going on. That I've been very kind of like just focusing inwards, doing the inner work. Go on, there's something you want to say there?
No, I just had the very similar experience to this weekend because that whole little crab nebula thing I was just talking about, I was expecting to, offer Zoom meetups and do more sharing and like, like doing things that were outward around the particular gateway. Like that's sort of what I expected of myself or that I had set up that would be cool to do. How about that? And then it was just like radio silence for me, like outward, like the share. I was just like, this is not a sharing time. So you just have to honor those, right? But I'm just saying I get that similar. It's like all internal. It's like taking care of the house, like cleaning things, like organizing things, like just keep making sure like the home base of your physical form, of your mind, like just, but I got that too, like just quiet time
Interesting.
and not outward. That's even, I was kind of laughing at myself when I said yes to your offer today. I was like, why did I say yes to that? But I know now because I will talk to you anytime. Anytime you say something, I would say yes, because Denise and I vibe well together.
We do.
We could just talk whale and we'd be okay. But that I was grateful for it too, because I feel like, oh yeah, that's like, it's almost that fringe time to come out and like support other friends or support each other through it too. Like there's the inward part, which is so necessary, but then there's the like, that's the echolocation part, that's the checking in, right? It's like, what do you, it's been helpful anyway, so thanks for having me on today.
My pleasure. Thank you for saying yes. And yeah, so you messaged me earlier, and I was just sitting in the garden, and the sun had just come out for the first time today, and it was really hard to come inside and leave the garden. I've been spending such a lot of time just in the garden, and the garden's a mess. Um, the garden's been a mess since I got here. There's like a patch of lawn, but there was lots and lots of rubble on the garden, and the dry stone wall that was there needed rebuilding. And the dry stone wall has just been rebuilt, but there's still a lot of rubble. There's still a lot of leftover stones, which will be moved next week. But I don't know why I'm sharing this, but I was doing, it felt awesome yesterday that I was digging up some, I'm not going to call them, some wildflowers, let's say, that I don't particularly want to be spawning and bringing more of the same wildflowers. Very prickly ones, they were thistles.
Yeah.
And I was really enjoying the process of, I had some garden tools that I bought quite cheap recently, and one of them was a fork. And I don't know if I've ever had my own set of garden tools before. And I was really enjoying the process of putting the fork in, turning the soil, and I also repotted or replanted some plants yesterday as well. So I was actually really getting my hands in the soil, and it felt so good. There were some poppy plants that were growing on one of the walls that's been rebuilt, so they were taken off the wall because they were in the way, but I wanted them to still grow. So in some of the space that had been created with some of the stones being moved, there was a bit of soil there, so I dug them into the soil, and I bought some lavender and some other beautiful plants that are going to be beautiful colors and beautiful smells, and I put those in the ground yesterday. I think that's partly why my back's twinging as well today. But it was awesome to really get my hands in and communicate with the plants really deeply after I'd put them in as well. And I was visualizing a diamond underneath the soil, like a octahedron, crystalline octahedron that they connect to, and then connecting that to Gaia's heart, which I also see as a crystal octahedron, and connecting them to the crystalline grid. And just really feeling the energy once I'd put them in, keeping my hands there and just feeling that connection with them, and feeling the waves of energy coming off the plants. So that was what I was doing yesterday, which was a lot of fun. Is there anything that you would like to add to my gardening experience?
Sounds complete and beautiful.
Are you making notes there? Is there something you want to share?
Nah, no, I just drew an octahedron.
What did you draw?
An octahedron. I
Ah,
don't know why. It's just, I do have a notebook here, but just to, as you were saying it, I was drawing it.
nice. Uh-huh. I love working with octahedrons
Yeah.
because there's not that many straight lines in nature. And I wonder whether some of the lines in geometry that we think are straight are actually have a little curve to them. But the octahedron is one of those things that we see as a platonic solid that has definitely got straight lines. And I like their shape. And I've done quite a lot of work. That's been a lot of my grid work has been activating octahedrons. First one was in Byron, and it was in the sea off Byron. But that's been quite a bit of my grid work connecting with octahedrons.
Sweet.
Is there anything you want to share about octahedrons?
Uh, Not as such. I mean, a few things pop in as you're talking about. There is one. It reminded me of that shape is associated with Venus, so it links back to, or like to the orbit of Venus. So to me, that linked back to the astrological alignments astronomical alignments I was talking about with the Venus. That was just like a little ping for me of like back to Venus.
Interesting. And I've heard it said about the 22 planets. Is it 22 planets or 22 stars? There's 22 or constellations, I'm not sure. Have you ever heard this? And is it something that resonates with you, that creates like a diamond? And that's to do with the diamond light codes.
I'm not sure about the 22 part. There are a few different diamond shapes that are, do you know the term asterism? It's not quite a constellation, but it's a familiar grouping of stars.
Okay.
So there's quite a few different diamond alignments in the stars, but I don't know about that 22 one.
I'm trying to remember where I've heard that from and I can't.
So do you want to loop back to your first thing that you asked me and talk about photons or talk about light?
Sure.
Because I think why you started to ask me about Alcyon, were you going to talk about the like photon belt stuff or like photon activation-y stuff?
Yeah.
Shall we just loop back there? Because it's the first when you messaged me and said, what should we talk about? You're like, I want to talk about light.
I
And so
don't
I
really
brought a
know
few
what a
things.
photon is exactly.
Say that again, hun? I was
I
talking
don't
over
really
you.
know what a photon is. I speak of them, but I couldn't say a light photon is blah, blah.
So like a simple way of thinking of it, it's like a little packet or a little bundle of light. So in quantum mechanics, like in quantum looking at light, a quanta, like a photon is the amount of energy that it takes for an electron that's orbiting around, an electron to move from one orbital to another. It's like what, people talk about quantum jumping. That's what I see it as, is like electron moving into a higher vibration, moving into a higher orbital. So it needs a certain amount of energy, light, to make that happen. And the other side of that is that when an electron moves from a higher orbital state down, it produces a photon. So it sends out a
Oh,
bundle of light. So a photon is just a bundle of light, a packet.
it's a little
Does that
pocket,
make sense?
a little pocket of light. I like that. Yeah, I've got that. Okay.
So light is really kind of produced in just a couple of ways. Like I said, that like a descension of an electron moving out of one orbital state to a lower or less one produces a photon. And just like think of simple human words. Well, an electromagnetic wave. So if you run electricity through a wire, it will produce an electric current, but also a magnetic field around it. And then it will produce some heat. Generally, like if you think of old fashioned light bulbs, right? They would get hot to the touch. You couldn't put a blanket over them for fear of them catching on fire. Like there's enough heat. And then the next lighter thing, they also produce light. So if you just have like a light bulb that, there's a thin filament that the electricity runs through, and that produces the magnetism, heat, and light all in one. So it's like when they talk about electromagnetic field, it's electron flow, or we can think of it as life force, like prana flow, and it's magnetism, it's heat and light all together.
Got it.
So did that answer like what's a photon?
Yes. It does.
So
And are there, I'm not quite sure what I'm asking here, but is light packaged in other ways? Are there other ways? And I guess what I'm getting at here is we talk about crystalline light, kind of plasma light. those
Yeah.
things.
So there's different, so this does go back to like what you were getting at with the octahedron. I do have, and I'll put a few if it's okay with you. I have a few blog posts that would support some of this
Yeah,
conversation about the light, but there are different, as I see them, and this is one thing that came through for me during one of these Pleiades alignments. You know, the information just kind of streams through. So this, it was either last year or the year before, but I think it was last year in 2020 during the Pleiades time that there's different geometrical phases of the light body. Now,
Ooh.
other people talk about this is just a Julie thing, or that's how it comes through to me. Like I've heard other people that talk about the light body talk about like, you know, the gamma, the crystalline, the plasma crystalline, like my dear friend and mentor, Lisa Brown, has her whole vernacular of talking about the plasma crystalline light body and the this and that. And it doesn't come through quite the same way for me. Like for me, it comes through more in shapes and geometries,
I
like
like
platonic solid. So the tetrahedron is that, you know, we talked a lot about water last time,
that. Mhm.
and they're just more like that, how H2O bonds and forms is in a tetrahedron, right? It's kind of one of the most stable shapes in the universe. And then there are different geometric phases or building blocks of the light body. Does that make sense? You know, like cubic, and then the
Mhm.
octahedron one has a lot of the rainbow quality to it because the 8 sides and the 8 rays, and that's the Pleiadian thing, like in all the myths and star stories scattered across the globe, is that the maidens, or if they were either brothers or sisters, the seven sisters were in danger. They were being pursued by Orion. And in order to save them, their dad, like is it Zeus or Apollo, whoever, like turned them into stars. Here in
Right.
North America, in the plain states, the Indians would talk about, the Native Americans would talk about the seven daughters being pursued by the bear, and then that their, you know, their star elders turn them into stars. So there's a lot of this like becoming a star body is encoded in the Pleiades. And to me, that's like the double. So the octahedron is a four-sided pyramid stacked against each other. But there's a Macabre too. There's another double stacked pyramid that's the double tetrahedron. You know, two three-sided pyramids stacked on top of each other.
Ah,
And
okay.
those like interlock and become the Merkaba, the star body, the light body, the vehicle of light. So that's like there's a lot of content in there. But here I want to get my shapies. They're across the room.
Thank you everyone for joining us.
Is that
Candice, you must be geeking out at all this geometry and light.
So this is, I know, this is tetrahedron.
Yeah.
You know all these. I'm just showing them for people. They're like, what the heck are these girls talking about now? We told you our and this is what Denise is talking about, the octahedron.
Can you hold them both up together,
Sure.
please?
Is that a good background? There we go.
Mm-hmm.
But so what did you ask the first? Like, the different of the light body in different phases. There's like different aspects of us, or like they're kind of like building blocks. Like if you were learning a new language, you'd learn the alphabet first, right? Or you'd learn what the vowels sound like, all the sounds. So I feel like that's the geometry to me, is like you learn the language, but then it's all like your light body is like it's like looking into one of those kaleidoscope things where it's not just a square or a circle, or it's like, you know, you're asking if there's straight lines. It's like more like a lava lamp kaleidoscope. The light body is constructed, but these are like, these little shapes are like the building blocks.
Sometimes I feel I can see the geometries of the body, and it feels like they morph. Like then there may be some structure that's not permanent, but some of it feels like it changes. It changes shape. It morphs from one geometry to another. And I don't even know if that's possible, but that's what it feels like sometimes.
or you're talking about the chakras at the very beginning. This isn't exactly accurate, but one like simplified way of thinking of it is like the chakras are like these doorways. Or do you have ever played with little kids where they have like those little sorting shape things? And like you put the circle in this one and the square in this one. When you're teaching babies, like 0 to 1 year olds would play with this little game and like they try to get the right shape in the sorting thing.
Mhm.
It's like you could think of like a simplified way of thinking of the chakra system is like the earth chakra lets in the square shapes, and the second chakra, the water chakra, lets in the this shape, and that like or lets in the hexagon or the different shapes because of how the chakras are constructed. So like each one lets in a certain, or you can think of it as like, some people think the earth chakra lets in the red, or when you're getting diffracted into all your rainbow light body colors. Each chakra is like a doorway that lets in a certain frequency. So there's the frequency comes encoded, like it's a sound, it's a shape, it's a color, it's a vibration, it's a sense, it's all of those at once.
Mm. And it feels like our geometry is constantly upgrading as well. And that the Earth's geometry is constantly upgrading. And there's something for me about, I feel our Merkaba is surrounded by an octahedron, like the Merkaba is within an octahedron. So we have our Merkaba around our body, but it feels like the next layer almost is an octahedron on the outside of that. Does that resonate?
Well, everyone, yeah, I'll resonate that for you. Like everyone's constructed differently, right? Everyone has a different, and you can have your light body vehicle is something you can, like, it's constantly getting upgraded, but like you can design it, and if it's true for you, it's true. That's what I mean. I haven't connected with that personally, but yeah, for sure. Like that you're like those Russian nesting dolls. It's like geometry inside geometry inside geometry. Absolutely. And is it constantly shifting? And like anytime you stop the field of light, like the field of light is this, it's like shapes and colors and sounds. And like anytime you stop it, you're just like looking at like a snapshot of it. It's not its, and so it's, every time you look at it, it'll look different.
Hmm. I have a question. Okay, so yesterday I was lying on the grass and I was looking up at the sky and I was looking at all the little photons of light, whatever they are, the little packages of light that you can see in the sky. And when I used to teach people about seeing energy, I'd say, if you look to the sky, you can actually see energy. And this isn't a special skill. You can actually see these little particles of light or whatever they are. And to me, I see them as like almost like a dot with a tail.
Mm-hmm.
They're moving really quickly. So it's almost like you see that, and then the next second it's moved somewhere else. And as I was looking at it yesterday, it seemed like those, I think it only looks like a tail because you're seeing the light move. So it looks like a tail, but it's
Yeah, kind of
actually,
like when you take a picture and then like you get the trails.
yeah.
So can I ask, are yours, because I see those too, but some are black, some are gray, some are silver, some are clear and rainbowy.
Yeah.
Did you have a color with yours?
Um, they're mainly kind of silvery, but I can see that there's lots more, but those are often the ones that I seem to focus on.
Mm-hmm.
But they seem like the tail seems longer and they're thicker in the sky, for want of a better word. There's so many more of them now than there ever was. Because I first was seeing those probably in about 2002, 2001. And I'm never sure if I'm seeing the energy of my aura or if I'm seeing energy that's coming down. But it actually almost looks like it's coming down. When you see it, it kind of looks like it's coming down, but it's moving to the side as well. I can't quite describe it, but I don't think it's my energy. and constantly it's been getting like there's more of them, more of those little particles in the air, um, which fits with there being more energy coming onto the planet as well. Anything that you want to throw in there about those?
Yeah, so that the aspect of ascension that is about our solar system, our sun and all the planets here in the solar system, moving to a part of space that is more densely coated with light, like what's we call the photon. There's a lot of people that call that the photon belt.
Mhm.
But in my explorations, there's way more than one photon belt. It's not just one, but there is like, so ascension, if we talk about the cycles of light and dark, and especially for the human spirit and the planet itself, it's like we're moving into a more densely coated area or section of the galaxy or section of space. And so, yeah, there more like dots per inch, like you would
Yeah.
say in a, old fashioned computer. Yeah. Like that's one of the paradigms of ascension, that there's more light codes here in this section of space, and that they're activating us more and more and activating. And it was, do you follow Sandra Walter's work? Or you know who she is, obviously, right? So it's her voice came through as you were saying that, because she talks about like when we move through a different band, like there's different geometries in this band that we're about to move through. So that moving through is like our, we talked about the spiral galaxy, like we're in the Milky Way. So our star is moving around the center. So that great central sun is the center of the Milky Way. Like we're moving around it. And there are these different cosmic streams. And when we're in certain, that 26,000 year cycle that the Mayan calendar would focus on, like that is this, they're all the same cycles. It's like orbital cycles around the center of the galaxy. And so there's certain parts of the galaxy that we move through that have more dots per inch, more particles. So that you can see them. That's cool. But it's not, it's not required for other people that are listening to this, right? It's just like that happens to be Denise's. She might have that clair of vision of seeing light particles, and
I
other people have the clair of like hearing them or feeling them or
I
something.
think those ones anyone can see. I don't think it's a special skill, and I only say that because when I used to teach about seeing energy, I used to do that when I was working at the Arts Factory backpackers, and everyone could see them. And I don't think it's I don't think I'm seeing with that. I feel like I'm seeing with these. Um, I could be wrong on that, but I feel it's something that is there for everyone to see. And I think people see them and just don't realize that it's actually energy, it's actually light that they're seeing.
It's interesting though, because you could go ask like an ophthalmologist, and they would talk about the vitreous humor, and that it's like part of your human eyeball. So what you're seeing is really like, the physical goo that is inside your eyeball. So there's a facet of it that's human design, earth body. And so then if we code on more subtle layers to that, those of us that, it's like, yeah, sure, that's that. So you're asking like, is it cosmic influx or is it me and my thing? It's like, yes, and it's almost like you're using that as your input. Anything we get is from the sensory, like flow back from the universe. So I'm just saying, like like pure scientific thinking person could dismiss what we're talking about the energy codes on top, and just talk about it. Oh yeah, there's a earth plane scientific reason for why we see those dots, but we can also then use that as feedback. Does that make sense? So I think there is like a tangible earth plane. Oh yeah, what those things are. Those not exactly floaters, but it's part of the eye structure.
Interesting, because it doesn't feel like that. It does feel like it's something, because floaters are different. Like I see a lot of I've quite a lot of annoying floaters that I think are like, bits of hair or bits of dust that have like
Mm-hmm.
gone back into your eye, and that's definitely different. And I can see those all the time, and sometimes they're a bit in the way as well. When you're trying to see energy, it's like, oh, all I can see is the floaters that are coming through. But that feels quite different to me from the little sparkles of light.
The time where they were most physically visible for me was during the solar. It's cool. So we'll loop back to the eclipse. When I started seeing them was, I think it was August 2017 during the solar eclipse, because where I live, it was a partial view. So we didn't get the darkness, but I was on a beach by the ocean, and another friend and I who can see energy also, like we saw it, like it was like this, it was like these rains and these like V shapes of these, like they were very geometrically organized, more so than usual during the eclipse. So maybe we should play with that, you and I. See if we feel them on, during this eclipse corridor now, if they increase.
And it seems to be more of an outside thing as well. Like when I look up to the ceiling in my house, I can't really see them. When I'm close to a window and there's sunlight coming in, I feel like I've seen them inside there. But mostly I see them outside.
Cool.
And there was another question that I wanted to ask you when you mentioned the great central sun. Is that a black hole?
Good question. You mean the center of the Milky Way? Is there a black hole there?
Yeah.
I don't know that I don't know for sure what's there, but that's one theory for sure that some scientists have, but I don't think anyone quote unquote knows yet. When I tune into it, it has more of a filament quality, kind of like the central channel, like the Sushumna.
Yeah.
Like I don't personally get like a black hole feel, but I don't. Who am I to say?
I'm getting the nudge.
How about you? Do you get black hole feeling from the center?
Someone said that and I was like, oh, that's interesting. I don't know. I haven't really tuned in. I'm going to show this because I'm very connected with the Chalice Well garden, and that's where I spent most of my time in Glastonbury. And this is the design that's on the lid of the well. If you've seen this before, that's where people have seen it. So I had some very profound experiences when I was at Chalice Well Garden, and I bought this from their shop, and it feels like I'm carrying the Chalice Well energy with me. Like I don't feel like I need this to carry the energy. I feel like I'm really holding that energy, but it feels more profound perhaps when I've got this. So as you can see, this is the Vesica Pisces, and a little heart on the top, and it feels very watery. There's a sapphire at the top, and there's rubies at the base.
Can I ask, who drew? Is that like a petroglyph, like drawn in ancient times, or did someone recently draw that? Like, how is that drawn on top of the well?
It's fairly recent, so there's like a lid to the well, and when the lid is up, it's got this beneath it. But I think it's within the last 100 years. It's not an ancient. It's
like
not
it's
an
paint and colors and done by humans. How about that?
Yeah.
Cool. It's beautiful.
And yeah, I had some very profound experiences in the gardens of the Chalice Well, which I might save. Oh, okay, I'm getting this.
That's a whole nother hour-long, beautiful flow for you.
There was, and I got the real feeling, because there was a point. I'll just share this. There's more, but I'll just share this. So it's at the base of the Tor. So it's at the base of the hill, and the water that comes into the Chalice Well, there's two springs, and they're both from an aquifer that is where the water is held or contained in the Tor. So you've got the Tor that's on top of the hill, and the hill contains the aquifer. And one of them is a red spring. It's the same water, but there's two channels that it comes out from. And one of them goes through iron, which makes the water red, and the other one doesn't. So that's a very clear one. And at some point they mix. So that's also linked to the legends of the red and white dragons too. And when I was sitting at the top of the garden, And I sang and sang and sang when I was up there because I was interested how far I could project my voice. And I just let loose and sang in a way that I've never sang before. And I was really trying to like hit the tour with my with my voice. I don't know how far it reached, but one of the ladies who was staying at the Chalicewell Gardens, I didn't realize she was in the garden as well. But when I was inside, she's like, "Were you singing?" I was like, "Where were you? How far did my voice travel?" So it did travel a fair distance. Um, but what I was going to mention was when I looked at the hill with the tour, I just felt that the whole thing was a dragon. And I know people have linked dragons to it, but it just felt like the whole hill was a dragon.
Cool.
Mm. It was really quite amazing.
That's another like echolocation-y, whatever that, like you
Mm.
get the column, that you send out your code and then you get back. It's our theme. If I had to thumbnail our theme for this talk, be like broadcast and reception and broadcast and reception.
Write that down.
Or that we should all realize, I think there's a way that we focus a lot on the incoming, right? Like, oh, there's more energy coming to the earth, there's more energy. And it's like, it's just as much our job to be crystalline broadcasters as it is for us to be crystalline receptors.
Nice.
And we are broad. I think that's, that's our not new focus, but upgraded focus, is that like, it's both and, right? Like we're receiving, but it's also like, that's the watch your words, be, careful what you speak into the universe. Be pristine with your energy.
Yeah.
Thank you. I can't wait to hear when it's shareable, when you're ready to share more about your last experience.
If I can remember it, I should have written it all down.
Or sometimes it's not for the sharing, right? It's the doing. That's part of like what this weekend was. It was like, oh, there's not as much outward. It's like when you talk about that inward time, it feels very much like that. But that makes sense too with the two between the eclipses also.
Yeah.
It's like the inward work is the work right now, rather than the more flamboyant public things.
And it's the time, isn't it, with eclipses for stuff to come up, like that deep shadow stuff to actually be really brought up. I feel that. And I think a lot of people are not sharing so much, like there's not as much, I don't have as many notifications of other people doing things at the moment
Right.
either.
I've talked to other friends who are general sharers who've also been given the information of like quiet time, inward time. It's not just you and I. It's just like a collective thing. And it's great because it's like, it's time. That's Thank you so much for all this outward sharing time and being together, and hopefully our securitists, we feel like we went like all kinds of great places, but it's always the way codes are supposed to be exchanged.
Yes, indeed. It's always a pleasure to speak with you. So thank you, everybody. Thank you particularly, Julie.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Denise.
everybody who's watched. If you feel to pass this on and share it, please feel free. I'll also pop my PayPal in the comments if anybody wishes to make any contribution at all. And if it's not financial, just love. Sending love out. Thank you. And I just invite us all to bring our awareness back to our hearts. And leaving the show as we started, with our awareness in our heart space. And perhaps if you tune in, you might notice a difference from the start of the show to now, or you might not. But let us all, while we're in that beautiful space of love, send love out to the universe, send love to the heart of Gaia, and to the hearts of every being, every tree, every plant, to the oceans, sending love to every particle on the planet. Bye, everyone. Just going to show the dragon's eye one more time. Oops, sideways. There we go. Love, 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 love. See you soon.